Thank you for stopping by, guys, and welcome back to Scrap Mechanic. Today, we're going to be looking at the Naga. And actually, we're going to be looking at it torn apart. That way I can kind of go through how it works. So if you don't know already, the Naga is my newest MBT and is meant to be replacing the Minotaur. For the most part, it has the same features as the Minotaur. However, a lot of it's a lot more polished and got rid of a lot of the bugs and issues that the Minotaur had. So just real quick, here we go. And it has what you'd pretty much expect, 4-round DF cannon. Has my normal aiming system using the spud guns. It also has the kneeling, which was added on the Aardvark and the Minotaur. And a few little extra things, one of which is the little, you can see it here, there's a little port. If the gun ever gets jammed for any reason, I can hit 9. It will destroy a piece of cardboard and it will unjam the vehicle for me. That way I don't have to get out, place a block, delete a block, and get back in. I can just hit 9. And I've got 6 rounds of that. And as you can see, there is a port for reloading if I need to. That way I can have a bit more efficiency on battle when my gun jams. Because even though I put a lot of effort into making the Naga and really all of my tanks difficult to jam the guns in, they do still jam on occasion. Now then, now we've looked at the tank as a whole, let's go ahead and look at the chassis. So the chassis itself has 4 wheels touching on each side, with the front wheels spinning as well, just in case I get pushed up against a hill or some rocks. That can help out quite a bit. And the rear wheels are decorative. Now, most of the wheels here are driven by 2 electric engines, which I can actually cut open the back to show you. You see 1 electric engine there, 1 electric engine there. Except for these wheels. These wheels are driven by a gas engine. The reason for that, if I hop back in the full Naga, is to help with rotation, or turning I should say. Having those wheels as gas helps when turning and making maneuvers. It's mostly for the sake of just balancing turn rate with controllability. So there we go. And also the reason I picked those 2 wheels is because when I kneel, press this button, they get raised off the ground anyways, so it's not a major detractor. And the kneeling function itself is driven by that controller. One thing I want to point out, and this is a major difference between the Naga and the Minotaur, is the wheels here are only on pistons. They don't actually have suspension on them. So you'll see when they are put on a lift, they are up. When they get taken off the lift, they raise down, or they go down, based off the controller's inputs. And whenever the switch is flicked, the front wheels raise and the back wheels lower. Each of which the front lowers, or the front moves back up 2 blocks and the rear goes down by 2 blocks, giving us a nice amount of depression. There we go. So then, other than that, we do have 2 suspension glitches for steering, and there's not really much else to talk about the chassis. It's mostly decorative at this point, other than just the driving itself and the kneeling feature. Now, the big thing with the Naga is its new gun. Let's go ahead and bring it back down. This, of course, does use a 4-round DF, like I've stated before. And to load it, we can hit 8. And load it. From here we can fire and reload. Oh, I messed that up. Now the big change between this gun and the gun in the Minotaur is that all of the rounds, when put on a lift, start here rather than the Minotaur, which some of which would start in the actual gun itself and would cause a lot of issues. So then, on the turret itself, I will be looking at the gun a bit more in depth here in a second. But on the turret itself, it does have the memory bit, which is used by the gun's reloading system, as well as a recoil compensation system. So what that means is, whenever we fire, because the gun is so far off to the left, the whole turret wants to jerk to the left. But with this recoil compensation system, it's built from the turret into the gun's aiming system and will jerk the gun back right. So when the gun fires, it jerks left, and the system jerks it back right. That way, almost all of our rounds will hit true. There is a slight bit of deviation, but for the most part, they're not as bad as they would have been. And some other features to show here. Here is the little reloading system that we use for the gun unjamming system. So every time I hit that, it just destroys a bit of cardboard. And then when that's full, I can just reload. I think everything else that needs to be shown is going to be shown over on the gun. So let's go ahead and pop off. And here we are back at the gun. Reload it. And as you can see, there are two sensors. There's one here and there's one right there. Those are to detect when a round is available to fire. If it's available to fire, it will fire. If it's not, it won't. So if I empty this whole gun, then it won't fire. So not only does it detect if there's a round ready to fire, it also detects if it's empty. This would normally interact with the memory bit that I mentioned that was in the turret back here, so that when the gun's empty, it would flop between the top and bottom racks. So if I fire 2, then it triggers the memory bit back there to raise this rack and fire it. Now the bottom section, the bottom rack, actually raises and lowers. It'd be kind of got a bad angle here. So you can see it raises and lowers, and the top rack actually moves back into the gun. This was like a big issue with the Minotaur. The Minotaur started with the top rack backwards, and then it slid forward when it was taken off the lift. That meant the ammo also started inside the gun. That was an issue. And the elevation, rotation, all of that is the same as I would on any other tank. Has pistons, there's the elevation, there's the rotation, and there's the stabilizer. So, let's reload it once again. And you will also notice on the top rack, one of the rounds is farther forward than the other. This was actually because of an issue on Fire on the Move. For some reason, unknown to me, whenever you would fire the gun directly straight when you were moving at high speeds, this rear round wouldn't fire. It wouldn't fire in the lower one or the top one. And after some testing, found out that if I put a gap here, it would fire. So, you'll see when this comes up, it comes up and it actually expands out. Like that. To increase the reliability of it firing while moving. You'll see when the top one gets reset, it expands out and this one retracts back in. There are a few other cosmetic changes, such as this here to the piston. When the gun is fired, the gun will actually recoil. It's not a major change. So fire. It's kind of hard to see on this one. Maybe if I go over here, it might actually appear a bit better. Whenever I fire, you see the barrel recoils slightly. So, that for the most part is looking at the major functionalities of it, but there are some little odds and ends, such as if we hop over here, the barrel itself is mostly cosmetic, however it also does serve a functional use. So without the barrel there, we can depress the gun significantly more, but the gun needs clearance anyways for these rods to leave the barrel. So you'll see it come out that little slit. And having the barrel there makes sure that the likelihood of the round hitting yourself is significantly lower. As well as just balancing things such as the large weight This helped to balance the gun, and honestly, I don't know what else there is to really mention on the Naga. So, that, I think, was a complete teardown of the Naga, looking at a lot of its functionality, kind of giving you a behind the scenes of how things actually work. I know some of the older creators in my community are well aware of how tanks work, but some of the newer people, I'm not sure how much they really understand about these tanks. There's a lot of engineering that goes behind some of these builds, as well as a lot of trial and error. Things like the rounds being spaced here was something I only found out after the original Naga was built, and showed off that I kept killing myself because it was driving straight, it wouldn't fire, and this loose round would bounce around and detonate. But after testing and a lot of explosions, found that having a gap there was very effective. So, without any further ado, I think this is going to be the end of the episode. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments down below. Do the channel, enjoy what I'm doing, please subscribe, it helps out a lot. And right now, shares help the channel the most, so if you want to help the channel, please share this episode with a friend. I do want to also thank Captain Bob for being a member over on the channel and helping me out in that way. So, without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and load this up, fire it a little bit, and I'm going to end it here. So, thanks for stopping by, thanks for sticking around, and until next time, peace.